Okay. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depending where you are. In any case, welcome to this short talk about the role of the networks of marine protected areas managers linked to the targets of the Convention on Biological Diversity. So we will address this from different points of view, but let me introduce the speakers. I'm CANALS. I'm the president of MedPAN and the team leader of the EU Ocean Governance Project that works with many different networks around the world. And my colleague is ROMANI, the executive secretary of MedPAN and also a partner of the project. So, yeah, I think we can start maybe talking in a specific place, which is the Mediterranean, about what a network of marine protected areas managers may do in such a close and small sea. What's the value of the activity of those managers working together? Yeah, Marie?
Yeah, thank you, Puri. So MedPAN is the network of marine protected area managers in the Mediterranean, created, let's say, more than 10 years ago. And the idea of this network is really to gather all the marine protected area managers and also all the other actors that contribute to the management of MPA, like NGOs, scientists, civil society, etc. And small-scale fishers, for example, or tourism actor. So really this network is to connect people all around the Mediterranean to share experience, let's say, from Spain until to Turkey, so all the Mediterranean countries. And the idea is really to gather this community that has the same issue and all the same also challenges and common challenges in the Mediterranean Sea. So this network really helped the MPA to in the terms of capacity building and also increasing the knowledge on MPAs. And there are also other axes to support, also to bring the voice of the MPA actors and managers at different levels. So a lot of policy work, and also work in terms of finding solutions for the funding, the financing of those MPAs. So to do that, so there is this MedPAN network that is also really connected to other key partners in the Mediterranean. And today we are with the SPARAC in this good pavilion of the Mediterranean in the CBD COP. And so the SPARAC, that is the Specially Protected Area Regional Activity Center for the Mediterranean, is based in Tunis. And with MedPAN, we develop a lot of collaboration. There is also the IUCN Med, the Conservatoire du Littoral, the WWF. More recently, there was the creation of the MedFund, that is the environmental fund dedicated to MPAs in the Mediterranean. So a lot of partnerships to really go in the same direction. Let's say that for the past recent years, MedPAN is also connected beyond the Mediterranean. And I let you the floor.
Thank you, Marie. So, well, you have heard that there's a lot of complexity beyond the word network. So you may have many different actors involved, many different levels of connections. But what I would like to stress before going beyond the Mediterranean is that MedPAN and as many other networks, the key focus is in management effectiveness. All this complexity of connections that Marie present, all those different actors working together, serves at the end to have a better management of the marine ecosystems in the Mediterranean, which is the final objective. But this is something that is replicated in other areas of the world by other networks of marine protected areas managers, not necessarily with the same format as MedPAN, because, for instance, MedPAN is, in terms of governance, we are an association under the French law with an international governance, while other networks may be linked, for instance, to a regional seas convention, or maybe more as agreements between governments of different countries. So maybe different ways of doing this support to the management. But in all the cases, this is the improvement of the management effectiveness and the connection of this management on the ground with the policies, either national policies, regional policies. You talk about the Barcelona Convention. We are here with our colleagues of the SPARAC, but also internationally. In fact, we are also here in the CBD COP. So that means that from the action that a manager may implement at home in their MPA, there is a direct link through all those different levels with international, very international policies. So this is also part of the role of the networks. And once said this, why we work together with other networks? So MedPAN has a lot of work to do in the Mediterranean, and you may think, okay, why do you complicate your life working beyond the Mediterranean? So in fact, it's because working beyond the Mediterranean means not doing action on the ground by MedPAN, but exchanging with other networks in West Africa, in the Caribbean, in North America, in the South of America with the Patagonian Forum, for instance, in the Pacific, in Southeast Asia, in the Indian Ocean. So each region has different options, and one of the examples is the creation of networks. So we identify those networks that are equivalent in the objective, not necessarily in the governance model, but in the final objective of supporting MPA management, and we exchange it with them. After several years, we started exchanging, I think, during Impact 3 in Marseille. It was in 2015 or 13, back a long time ago. And then we had the opportunity through the two European projects, the Transatlantic MPA Network project from 2016 to 2019, and now with the EU Ocean Governance project, to strengthen those connections and those exchanges with different networks. And we identified that there are mainly 4 areas that are relevant for the activity we implemented that deserves the possibility to exchange and learn from others. So those areas are exchanging knowledge and tools and information about management. Another one is about building capacity, and this building capacity has 2 dimensions: supporting the capacity of the managers themselves as our community, but also improving the capacity of the network to really do their job. A third axis or a third area will be the policy support, the role of the network supporting the implementation of policies from, as I say, from international, regional, or national levels. And a fourth one is mobilizing resources for networking and also to support the management of the MPAs. That's an example, for instance, in the Mediterranean. MedPAN was involved in the promotion of the creation of the MedFund, which now is a specific tool to support MPA management. So all those different axes are the key elements, common elements in the different networks. And by this EU Ocean Governance, we are working together to really improve our capacities and also play a more political role in the places that are relevant for MPA managers. That means regional conventions, but especially in this case at the CBD level, because at the end we are a key actors supporting the implementation on the ground. And there are very few of these that have the capacity to really being present at these COPs, but also then at home really taking care of those ecosystems, in our case in MedPAN in the Mediterranean, in other cases in other regional ocean places of the world.
Maybe just to complement on what you say, Puri, about this connection between those different networks. So maybe in terms of knowledge and exchange of tools, we have some recent exchange on how to better know and manage marine turtles in the different networks. And this is really concrete exchanges on tools and knowledge. And in terms of capacity building, there are a lot of other networks different from MedPAN. For example, the Patagonian Forum of the Sea that developed some key training program and training module for MPA managers that are really interesting also for the Mediterranean MPAs. And thanks to the EU Ocean Governance project, there was some training program open, because now we have all the online facility. So those training can be open also to different MPA managers in the world. And also for the Mediterranean, this is very interesting. In terms of policy, for us, for MedPAN, it's really also key to be here to the CBD COP, not only speaking with the voice of MedPAN, the Mediterranean MPA manager, but also together with the other networks. And maybe a last point about the financing of networks and mobilizing financing for MPA management on the ground. There is a new alliance that was launched during the IUCN Congress in Marseille last year, supported by Red LAC, the Latin America network of Conservation Trust Fund, also the EU Ocean Governance Project, but also MedPAN and the MedFund. A new alliance of networks and also of trust fund, conservation trust fund and networks of trust fund. And the idea is really to consider those networks and trust fund and networks of MPA manager, networks of trust fund as key tool to implement the new upcoming global biodiversity framework, especially on MPA, to really support MPA management on the ground and sustainable financing. So this alliance will continue to evolve and to grow.
Thanks, Marie. Those are really interesting examples of our action on the ground. And we are also doing other kinds of actions. For instance, now in the EU Ocean Governance Project, we're developing a desk study that includes an analysis on how the main of the most active networks are operating today with the aim to identify what makes a network of marine protected areas managers successful. So our idea is not just to take advantage for ourselves to obviously improve our daily activity, but also to have in the future guidelines that may inspire other networks being created or just being improved. Because what we realize is that when we look at, for instance, the new global biodiversity framework, it's really, let's hope that finally it's ambitious in the targets established, but if we consider this 30 by 30 target, that means in less than 8 years to have 30% of the ocean under protection. So this is really ambitious, it's great. In fact, it's not enough, but it's great. But to reach this target, the countries, the governments will need a lot of support, a lot of technical skills in their teams. So it is not easy to pass from less than 10% to 30% in such a short time. And this support maybe bring in specifically when we look at management of new MPAs, maybe bring by networks, by regional networks or national networks, or combinations of the work between these two levels. So we really have the responsibility to be more effective in our way to in the way we operate internally, but also the way we communicate with other actors, the way we involve other stakeholders when we talk about building capacity. Not necessarily has to be done everything inside the network. We may collaborate with other institutions that are specialized on trainings and on those kind of topics that are more specific, or science-based institutions. So, but to do this, we really need to identify what are the key elements to be improved. So we were planning to have a presentation about the first results of this desk study by our colleague Charles Besançon, but unfortunately he has no voice, so he's just listening at us, but cannot contribute directly in providing inputs on this interesting subject.
Yeah, maybe on this point, just to thank Charles and all the colleagues from the different networks that contribute to the EU Ocean Governance Project that developed those guidelines. And especially also in the Mediterranean, there are some new national networks of MPA managers, for example, created in Croatia last year. Or also in the Adriatic, there is let's say a sub-regional network of MPA managers. Now in North Africa, there are some willingness to develop also a network. So, and there is also a French network of MPA managers. So just but you said that, Puri, it's really interesting to have those networks of MPA managers that connect all the MPA actors at also national level, sub-regional level, also on a thematic topic. For example, in the Mediterranean now, there is a Posidonia Mediterranean network. And so really connecting people around those key aspect is key.
Yeah, just maybe to finalize, to give you a glance of who is involved in this networking activity under the ocean governance. So we have MedPAN in the Mediterranean, RAMPAO in West Africa, CANPAM in the Caribbean, NAMPAM in North America. We have Patagonian Forum in South America, but also the Red Parques and Red Golfo. Red Parques takes all the Latin American countries. Red Golfo takes Cuba, Mexico, and the US. But then outside and also in the Atlantic, we have also connections with OSPAR and with HELCOM in the Baltic. But then we also exchange with CIMAR, which is a network that goes from Galapagos to Coco, island from Ecuador to Costa Rica with Colombia and Panama. And we are also exchanging with NIAMPAM in the Yellow Sea and with WIOMPAN in the Indian Sea, and working very closely with regional institutions in Southeast Asia, like the Coral Triangle Initiative or the Asian Center for Biodiversity, that are also supporting the management in the region. So this is at regional level, but at national level, one of the key elements is to explore this regional-national connection, which is what may really make the difference in the future for the capacity of countries to really be more effective in implementing the international targets. So we have France, actors from France, from Spain, from North America, from Mexico, from Dominican Republic, from Colombia, from Uruguay, and that's an example. I'm from Senegal, and a very interesting example of the community MPAs of Senegal, which is a system of marine protected areas managed by the local actors. So this is all community, and our aim is to connect even more networks around the world to really create a space of exchange that may help to link the international policies with the ground level action and supporting the national governments to really be, as I said, more effective in implementing the CBD targets. So yeah, a quick resume of what we are doing, and thank you for listening at us.
Thank you.